red zone.
So much happening there. Yesterday, you are waking up to the end of the second impeachment trial of Donald Trump. But this morning, the debate over accountability for the Capitol insurrection, how the GOP handles the former president moving forward, that's still an open case.
The 43 senators voted to acquit the former president after a 5-day trial.
Man, them sound sad. Look at the news anchors sound like they sad.
Guilty. It was the most bipartisan impeachment vote in history. 10 votes short, though, of what was needed to convict.
Both the former and current president
It's kind of
focusing
Donald Trump gonna chew you up.
Minority Leader Mitch McConnell suggested more legal trouble is headed for the former president's way. He called former President Trump practically and morally responsible for the riot right after his not guilty vote. Would witnesses have changed any minds is the question. CNN's Ryan Noble starts our coverage with more on that short-lived debate.
For a second time, Donald Trump has escaped conviction by the U.S. Senate.
It is therefore ordered and adjudged that the said Donald John Trump be, and he is hereby acquitted of the charge in said article.
The final vote capped off a dramatic and unpredictable day, where House impeachment managers initially announced plans to call witnesses in the trial of the former president.
We would like the opportunity to subpoena Congresswoman Herrera regarding her communications with House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy.
Calling witnesses would have most likely sent the trial in a dramatically different direction, leading to a much longer affair. After hours of negotiations, the two sides agreed to submit into the record a statement from Republican Congresswoman Jamie Herrera Butler, which detailed a phone call from Trump to House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy on January 6th, where Trump told McCarthy the rioters cared more about election fraud than McCarthy. Impeachment managers decided to call her as a witness following a CNN report on the call Friday.
The point is that no number of witnesses demonstrating that Donald Trump continued to incite the insurrectionists even after the invasion of the Capitol would convince them. They wouldn't be convinced.
With witnesses off the table, the two sides presented their closing arguments. The prosecution arguing that the evidence made it clear the riot was incited by the former president.
He named the date, he named the time, and he brought them here, and now he must pay the price.
And the Trump defense warning the constitutional questions of convicting a former president were impossible to ignore.
This has been perhaps the most unfair and flagrantly unconstitutional proceeding in the history of the United States Senate.
When the votes were cast, 7 Republicans joined Democrats and voted to convict Trump, but fell short of the 2/3 majority necessary. Richard Burr of North Carolina and Bill Cassidy of Louisiana voted to convict. Despite earlier voting, the trial was unconstitutional. After it was all over, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, who voted to acquit, hammered Trump's actions, saying he was responsible for the riot and even suggested he could be tried in a criminal court.
Didn't get away with anything yet. Yet. We have a criminal justice system in this country. We have civil litigation. And former presidents are not immune from being accountable by either one.
But Majority Leader Chuck Schumer argued the Republicans were using the constitutional argument as a cop-out. In his mind, the evidence was more than enough to convict.
Look at what Republicans have chosen to forgive. The former president tried to overturn the results of a legitimate election and provoked an assault on our own government.
And while there's no doubt that Democrats are not happy with the outcome of this impeachment trial, there are many that are happy to see it in the rear view mirror, and they are ready to get focused on some of the big agenda items for the new Biden administration. The first thing up, that big COVID relief package that's currently making its way through the Congress. Ryan Nobles, CNN on Capitol Hill.
Ryan, thank you very much. Now, moments after his acquittal, former President Trump issued a statement, and he was teasing a return to politics.
Yeah, there was an optimistic tone. He called the impeachment another phase of the greatest witch hunt. But as CNN's Boris Sanchez reports, he's still concerned about the future.
Christy and Victor, Donald Trump's legal team privately expressing relief at the former president's acquittal in the Senate impeachment trial. Those sources indicate that they were surprised that 7 Republican senators voted to convict the former president. They did not expect a number that high. Notably, though, sources close to Trump indicate that he is now worried about potentially facing criminal charges for his role in the insurrection on January 6th. This comes on the heels of that speech that we heard from the Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, in which he said that the criminal justice system may ultimately look at Trump's role in the insurrection. And it's not just McConnell. Federal investigators have laid out to CNN that they are looking at everyone and anyone involved in the violent siege of the Capitol on January 6th, and that includes the former president. Of course, publicly, Trump is expressing relief, and in a statement, he expressed that he was pleased with the result on Saturday. Trump writing in part, quote, "Our historic, patriotic, and beautiful movement to make America great again has only just begun. In the months ahead, I have much to share with you, and I look forward to continuing our incredible journey together to achieve American greatness for all of our people." A note on what Trump wants to share with his supporters: we anticipate that the former president is going to viciously go after all of the Republicans who he feels have betrayed him, first for voting to impeach him and then for voting to convict him. Trump almost certainly will campaign and fundraise against them. And of course, there's always the specter that he may run again for the presidency in 2024. Victor, Christy?
Boris, thank you. Let's bring in now CNN legal analyst Ross Garber, who teaches impeachment law at Tulane Law School.